Hi everybody, my name is Mr. Steve and this is week number 2 of History's Heroes. Today's hero is John Darragh. John Darragh was a 14-year-old spy for the Americans against the British in the American Revolution. And so we're going to see one of the stories of the ways that he was a hero. And the story is called Buttons for General Washington. And General Washington was George Washington before he became president. And this is 1777. Are any soldiers in the street, John? His mother asked. Only the guard at General Howe's headquarters, John answered. Remember, John, keep away from the British soldiers, his mother said, and go the way I told thee. But I know a faster way, said John. Do as thy mother says, said his father. She has sent messages to General Washington before. John nodded his head. He wished his mother would finish sewing the new buttons on his coat. He was nervous and in a hurry to be on his way to General Washington's camp. Here, John, his mother said at last. The new buttons look just like the old ones. John took his coat. He ran his fingers over the cloth-covered buttons. He could not feel the small holes inside the buttons. Secret messages for General Washington were hidden in those holes. If I am caught, will anybody be able to read the messages? John asked. No, said his father. I wrote them in a code that only thy brother Charles can read. I wish I could give the buttons to General Washington himself, said John. Maybe someday thee will, said his mother. John carefully buttoned his coat. Be careful, said his father. The British are looking for American spies. If they catch thee, it means prison, or worse, said his mother. A shiver ran down John's spine. He knew that captured spies were lucky to end up in prison. Usually they were hanged. I will be careful, said John. Here is thy pass to leave Philadelphia, his mother said. Thou needs it to get past the British guards. John put the pass in his pocket. His hands shook as he touched the buttons for good luck. We will wait supper for thee, said his mother. Godspeed, John, his father said. John walked up 2nd Street. He turned on Market Street. British soldiers were everywhere. John wished they would all go back to England. John walked slower as he neared the guard post at the edge of town. Hey, Yankee Doodle, he heard a voice behind him. John turned quickly. It was Samuel Baker. Samuel's family liked the British soldiers. They wanted the British to win the war. The Bakers and other Tories wanted America to be part of England again. John hated Samuel even more than he hated the British soldiers. Did you see all of our new soldiers? Samuel asked. You Americans can never win now. General Howe will whip Washington before Christmas. He will not, said John fiercely. Oh, yes, he will, said Samuel. We British are too strong for you. John stepped up to Samuel. Just thee wait and see who wins the war, John said angrily. When we win, thee can return to England where thou belongs. Yeah, who's going to make me? Said Samuel, poking John. Me, said John. Before John could move, Samuel hit him so hard in the stomach that John fell down. See, said Samuel, we'll win. Samuel walked away proudly. Brushing off his coat, John stood up. He wished he could hit Samuel back, even though he knew he should not fight. Besides, it was more important for him to get that message to General Washington's camp. John stopped at the guard post. A red-coated British soldier took his pass. He looked at it a long time. John began to worry. You're going to your aunt's house? The soldier asked. Yes, said John. I must check each pass carefully, said the soldier. There are many American spies. You're not a spy, are you? He said with a smile. Oh, no, sir, John answered quickly. Off with you then, said the soldier. Just remember, we hang any spies we catch. Well, thou won't catch me, John thought, and he put the pass back in his pocket. John knew he should not be too sure of himself, though, so he kept a sharp lookout for more British soldiers. They might guess that he was a spy if they found him past his aunt's house. They might even find the secret messages. John stopped suddenly. He heard horses coming. He jumped over a ditch and hid behind a tree. 5 British soldiers came along the road. They passed slowly. They were looking for someone. John waited until the soldiers had ridden away. He touched his buttons for good luck. But wait, a button was missing. John looked all over the ground, but he could not find the button anywhere. Then he remembered Samuel Baker's punch. The button must have come off near the guardhouse. John started to run back down the road towards Philadelphia. His breath came in short gasps. He had to find that button. He stopped near the guard post. He looked around for the button. "Oh, you're back so soon." John jumped in surprise. The British guard walked towards him. "I lost one of my buttons," John said. "My mother would not be happy if I couldn't find it." The soldier held out his hand. He had John's button. "I found it when you boys were fighting," said the soldier. John tried to keep his hands from shaking as he took the button. He hoped the soldier had not found the message. "Thank thee for finding my button," said John, backing away. "On your way, then," said the guard. John put the button deep down in his pocket. He looked at the sky. It was past noon. Against his mother's warning, he took a shortcut through the woods towards General Washington's camp. He stopped for a rest after an hour. He took a long drink from an icy stream. Suddenly, a hand grabbed him from behind as he stood up. "What might you be doing in these woods?" asked a gruff voice. John spun around before he could answer. He faced a bearded man. The man aimed a pistol at John. John said the first words that came to him. "I was hunting." "Hunting without a gun?" the man asked. "I was really going to my aunt's house," said John. "Well, I will take you with me to find out the truth," the man said sharply. "Now march." John knew that the man would shoot him if he tried to run. They walked through the woods for a long time. John was hungry and tired. He was scared, too. Where was the man taking him? What would John do if they were taking him to a British camp? At last, they came to an open field. A large white tent stood in one corner. Soldiers in blue uniforms were marching across the field. It was an American camp. John breathed a sigh of relief. When he talked to Charles, everything would be all right. "We will have the truth from you now," said the man to John. He took John to the white tent. "I have a spy here," the man told a soldier guarding the tent. "I caught him prowling in the woods near Philadelphia." The soldier stepped into the tent. He was back within a moment. "Bring him in." The bearded man pushed John into the tent. "Sit down, son," said a tall man in a blue uniform. John sat down on a wooden chair. "They tell me you're a spy," said the man. "You are young for a spy. Whose side do you spy for?" "General Washington's side," John said. "I am John Darragh. Charles Darragh is my brother. He helps General Washington. Can I see Charles now?" The man turned to the soldier. "Send Charles Darragh to me at once," he said. John sat stiffly in front of the uniformed man. It seemed like a year before Charles showed up. "Why, John," Charles said in surprise. John smiled. Now he could prove that he spied for Washington. "Mother sent me. I have some messages for General Washington." John took the loose button from his pocket. "There's a message in Father's code written inside." Charles uncovered the button. He took out the message and looked at it. "Please decode the message right away," said the tall man. "Don't, Charles," said John. "Only General Washington is supposed to know." Charles laughed at his brother. "John, this is General Washington." General Washington held out his hand. John shook it. "It is an honor to shake the hand of so brave a patriot," said General Washington. "Thank thee, sir," said John. "Charles," said the general, "please report to me as soon as you decode these messages." General Washington left the tent. Charles began cutting the buttons off John's coat. John could not believe that he had met General Washington. Washington's words of praise still filled John's ears. After removing the messages, John sewed the buttons back on John's coat. "Now be careful on the way home," said Charles. "We need thee to bring more buttons." John touched the buttons for good luck. Then he laughed as he put on his coat. "I will bring enough buttons for General Washington's whole army," he said. And that was buttons for General Washington. Now, John Darragh and Charles Darragh and their parents, the whole family, were spies. And actually, Mrs. Darragh, John's mother, is probably the most famous of all the spies. It talks a little bit about her in this beginning of this book. Anyhow, what I wanted to do for activities has to do with some secret codes. And the first secret code I want to show you is a secret decoder. If you want one of these, I will give you a sheet that has all the instructions about how to make it, plus how to read it. So that's a secret decoder. It's a way to do secret messages. The other kind of secret message I wanted to show you was writing in invisible ink. And what we're going to use to do that is lemon juice and a Q-tip. All you're going to do is put some lemon juice on the Q-tip and then write the note on the piece of paper. And then we have to wait for it to dry. Once it dries, it's going to be totally invisible, or it should be anyway. And once it's totally dry and invisible, you could take this message that you wrote, this invisible ink message, and put it near a hot light. A light bulb that's pretty hot, and it'll reveal the message because the heat is going to interact with the lemon juice. So those are just two of the many different kinds of secret codes that you could do. Hope you had fun learning about John Darragh. We'll see you next time for a different history hero. Bye.